So I reiterate here, the bill is dead.
The story of this great city is about the years before this night. We are free!
Hey, hello, welcome to a new episode of Ho Ho Hong Kong. We're sitting here a beautiful rainy day. I am sitting here with my buddy Vivek Mahbubani.
That's right. At Funny Vivek. That's what I do online.
At Funny Vivek.
Yeah.
How have you? What are you up to? Because you're the one who are usually the busiest among the stand-ups.
Yeah. So this is the weirdest time because like everything's shut down.
Yeah.
So for example, no open mics, which means my writings come to a halt. Because see, this is the problem with me is that if I don't get to open mic something, I just keep rewriting the same stuff.
Right.
And I lose my mind. And after like 5 times, I'm just like, this is not funny.
Yeah.
I throw it away.
Yeah.
So I have like so much stuff I've written where I'm like,
So you write it to death, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just like, I'm still not laughing. Let it go. So there's that problem. All the gigs have changed to online now. If I have anything like school talks that I do, yeah. So actually, right now after this, at 2:30 today, I actually have a school talk I'm doing for 3 hours. I'll be staring at a screen.
That's brutal.
Yeah, entertaining myself in the black abyss of a lens of a camera.
So wait, do you talk about what's today's topic?
So actually,
racism?
no. Today's actually a humor workshop for kids.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, I'm doing
Okay.
that. So I'm trying to teach kids to be funnier. So I have that as well. But of course, with it online, I can do things like eye contact.
Right.
Stare at your camera right now. Let me see. So a lot of things are just weird. But what about yourself?
Not much, man. We're planning. We basically rescheduled. If you guys are following the backstage shows, we're rescheduling most of the January and beginning of February shows all the way up to March. And so now we're just working on shifting everything over and refunding people. It's not
Dude,
fun.
the refunding is horrible. Even our Chinese shows. Well, we have a show tomorrow.
Yeah.
We refunded like basically 50% of the people because we're like, well, we're doing it online. They're like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I get
So
it.
if you guys are listening and you want to support, please, if you had bought a ticket, just keep your ticket. We promise you will give you a show sometime in the future.
Exactly.
But yeah, don't refund the money. That's not very nice of you.
Yeah. Oh man.
Actually, I have something else I want to talk about very quickly. So if you guys have been around Saimpun area, you might be familiar with Craftismo, which is since 2013, it's been quite like a nice neighborhood bottle shop. Unfortunately, for reasons that you can probably guess, they have been struggling because they usually sell craft beer on the street, and it's just like one of these places just everyone loves, and you just have like nice atmosphere and all of that. So they're struggling right now because their licenses, surprise, have been not valid or whatever. Yeah. So they're struggling, and I think they still have a couple of weeks before they close, and they're hopefully open with a new license in summer. So if you're around the Saimpun neighborhood, or if you just want to grab a beer, you can actually, even after 6 p.m., you can grab a bottle from them or a can and stand on the street in front of Craftismo.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna put their Instagram account on the description. So just go grab a drink before they close. I think they close end of January.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Their last day is 28th of January. So please go grab a drink before they close.
Hopefully their license to close will be rejected and they can stay open.
We actually, it's gonna be an interesting episode.
Yeah.
Because we'll get to our guest. We're very excited to have Sam Bickett. Sam, how are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. You guys might get your license canceled. After this episode. So
Jokes on you. We have no license. Look at that. This is all
We have, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe after this episode, it's gonna be like, so do you guys have a recording license?
Yeah, I bet you right now there's gonna be some entertainment license they're gonna come up with just for podcasting.
Yeah.
And require us to pay an unnecessary fee of like.
And all of our friends who do podcasts are gonna fucking hate us. They're why did you throw us under the bus?
Why?
Like my friend Sarah, who's been on the podcast before, she does like sex podcasts. She's like, you didn't have to lump me in with you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I need a license.
Oh man, but yes, we have so Sam over here is joining us. Many of you may have read news and articles about him as well. But of course, here today we are here trying to take things on a lighthearted approach. It is of course a sad COVID lockdown day in Hong Kong, so we're going to try to make everyone laugh as well.
Right. So what do you think about the CCP? Let's start there. And then
just fun-loving people there.
I can imagine. imagine.
They're a blast. Love getting drinks with them at Craftissimo. And
All right, yeah.
shooting the
Let's
shit.
throw more people under the bus.
Yeah, exactly. While we're at it, can we go to Penny's Bay for a drink, everyone?
Oh yeah.
That place down.
We should also plug Takeout Comedy. It's a great place.
Yeah.
Exactly, man. You have that as well.
Oh,
so,
God.
what have you been up to, Sam? I mean, right now, everyone's life is kind of in limbo. Everyone's weird. People who had a big projection for the 2022 year is all stuck. I'm sure your life has had a lot of tumbles and turns where you have to suddenly change things around.
Yeah, it's kind of, in some ways, it's kind of funny because, so, I mean, if you look at my 2021, right, I was in prison for 2 months.
Yeah.
And then after that, I got out on bail and I'm still kind of waiting for the appeal. And I had my passport taken, so I can't leave Hong Kong. And I keep telling people, like, prison and having your passport taken away would be a lot worse if it wasn't for the fact that everybody else is either in Penny's Bay or not able to not able to travel anywhere either. So I feel like, if I'm going down, I'm bringing all of you down with me. I'm here. So while I was in prison, my work visa expired, and so now I'm out on this weird sort of bail, court ordered, allowed to be in Hong Kong thing. And so I'm not allowed to work or anything like that, but I've been spending a lot of time writing.
Wait, do you think they can get you then on overstaying your visa?
No, they can't. Well, they can get you. The thing about these people is they don't give a shit at what the law says, but they'll get you on whatever they want to get you on. But no, under the law, the court has the right outside of immigration to give somebody the right to stay in Hong Kong.
But do you have a proof that you can stay in Hong Kong?
So I guess my equivalent of a visa is that form that's the bail form that you get from the court that says, you have the right to be out on bail.
But the bail, does the form say that you can't leave Hong Kong?
It says that I can't leave Hong Kong.
Okay.
Right. And they took my passport away as well.
Actually, let's go back a little bit for the few people who might not know who you are. Can you just give us a quick brief, I'm sure you told it, you're so tired of telling the story, but obviously for our listeners, it's very important to just say who you were, what were you doing before, how long have you been in Hong Kong, and what happened that night?
Yeah, so going way back, I'm a lawyer. I was a corporate lawyer at law firms in Hong Kong. I first moved over here in 2013 with an American law firm, then went to a British law firm. In 2016, I went to Taiwan and just studied Chinese there for 3 years. 2019, in June 2019, I came back to Hong Kong to work in-house at Bank of America. I was their anti-corruption compliance director. And I came like a week before the protests started, so I'm sure there's somebody in Beijing who thinks that I'm like the CIA puppet master or something. But I got here right then. It all started up. So then for the next 6 months, I was working at Bank of America. I was supporting the protests and trying to take pictures and things like that, but I wasn't, that involved.
All right. So, so you got to understand from their point of view, though. You're someone who went to Taiwan, learned Chinese, and then came back, and then the city went tits up. You can't blame them, really, for thinking that you might be...
It's really, one funny thing is when I was applying for jobs, I actually applied to, from Taiwan, I applied to Alibaba to be their lawyer.
Oh.
And thank God that didn't work out. But it was funny because I did the interview and they had a couple questions at the beginning. They were like, "Oh, your experience," and "Oh, your Chinese is pretty good," blah blah blah. And then for the next 20 minutes, it was just grilling me on why I would choose to study in Taiwan and not in the mainland.
Right.
And I was just like, okay, well, honestly, and the funny thing, I told him the truth, which is that it had nothing to do with politics. It had everything to do with the fact that I wanted to learn traditional characters.
Yeah.
Right? And because, I had my teacher in Hong Kong was like, "Oh yeah, a lot of people go to this school in Taiwan." I was like, okay, this was back in more naive, ignorant days. But I mean, if I would have gone to Shanghai or something if that had come up. But these guys were just like, Taiwan? Honestly, because I'd been dealing in, China issues for a long time, it didn't used to be like that. So this was 2019, right? And it was my first real indication that kind of a lot of the mentality on the mainland towards Taiwan and some of this stuff had changed, where before it was kind of like, yes, Taiwan is part of China, but we don't really care. We're going to keep kind of doing business with them and visiting and stuff like that. Whereas then it had sort of slowly turned into this kind of real skepticism of Taiwan, and these people are all criminals and stuff like that. It was,
but would you say it was
situation.
like pre-2019? People kind of knew a lot of this stuff, but they wouldn't talk about it, like you just mentioned. Well, we still do business, whatever. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's like it just got in the magnifying spotlight after 2019, especially with the protests. I mean, I'm sure even in Hong Kong, majority of people are like, oh, it's part of China. Sure. I mean, I don't really care.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I'll try not to get too academic on this, but I think what happened in China over the last 10 years, 12 years, right, is you had a situation where, let's go back 40 years. So the deal between the Chinese people and the government has always been, we're going to take full control. We're going to infringe on your rights, or we're going to reduce your rights, restrict your rights, and you're going to accept it because we're making you really rich.
Yeah.
About 10 to 12 years ago, the writing was on the wall. I mean, these guys are not stupid. They know that the economy was slowing down then. It was going to slow down more. I think, this quarter, they've got like 3% growth compared to 20% growth for year after year after year before. And so if you're looking at the view of sort of people 10 or 12 years ago who were running the country, they're saying, well, we know how economics work and we know how that affects people. We got a huge middle class, and when we stop making them rich, they're going to start demanding political changes.
Yeah.
And their reaction to that, to try to head that off, was number one, lots of surveillance, but number two, I think spoken about a little bit less, is that they really focused on patriotism and nationalism, and sort of doing, there was a time when we thought, oh, maybe China will help us sort of liberalize North Korea a little bit. The opposite has happened. Yeah. They looked at North Korea and they said, oh, well, these guys have gotten really good at blaming all their problems on foreigners.
Yeah.
And so China started doing the same thing, and they started saying, we're the country of, 5,000 years of history. We are the great Middle Kingdom, and you need to support our country and stuff like that. So you started seeing this real rise in nationalism.
Yeah.
And now as the economy slows, they're really banking on that, right? And saying, yes, our economy is slowing. Yes, you have no rights in China, but it's China, and this is the country you love, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to make sacrifices for our great nation. And I think that's the biggest thing that really changed in people's mentalities. And it works too.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of view in the West, like, oh, there's billion people in China who are just dying to overthrow their government. And I think all of us in Hong Kong know that's not really true. It's been a really successful campaign to sort of get people to love their country, and there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just
the sacrifices behind that methodology. I mean, honestly, China should really learn a lot from, like, for example, one of the comedians, Andrew Chu, has this whole bit about like how when you shout out certain country names, they have a response to it. Like Australia, they've got the Aussie thing, and America's got the fuck yeah, that sort of stuff.
USA.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I mean, like, that's what China's lacking, and it's very true because even in Hong Kong, there's no response. There's no call and response, and I feel that's what the government's lacking.
Yes.
So, and I encourage, number one, making everyone rich. I
mean, right now there is one though. It's called group gatherings. More than 4 people is not allowed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Holding up. Oh, they have a lot of banners that say you are violating the national security law.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of that. Well, we need to call and response to national security.
The response is run. That's the response. It's very physical.
Well, exercise. I mean, closing gyms as well. So
exactly.
That's probably why they're doing it. They're closing all the gyms to make sure you keep running, people.
Yeah.
There's a certain 8-character phrase that is definitely not going to be the slogan.
Oh, definitely. Exactly. And let me just say, traditional or simplified Chinese.
Or English.
Exactly.
It has no day under the sun. So, okay, so let's go back. So you're working, 2019, the protests happened, and you were hanging out, just like supporting, you said?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think I remember, talking to friends and be like, I really support these guys, like going out, peaceful protests, things like that. Even when it kind of got more violent, it's kind of like, yeah, that's probably not a good idea to burn down a Bank of America or Bank of China, but it's hard to blame people for how absolutely insane this government had been.
Yeah.
But I what I would do is I have a camera hobby, photography hobby. I would take my camera equipment, go down there, try to kind of blend in with the press and take pictures, post it out in sort of in English descriptions of what was going on, just for people on social media to see it and things like that, which I really enjoyed doing. But because I was going down, getting in with the media, kind of taking pictures of tear gas and stuff, my friends would always joke like, "Sam, you're going to get yourself arrested somehow in these protests."
And you're like, challenge accepted.
But the irony of the whole thing is that when I did get arrested in December 9th, 2019, it had nothing to do with it. There was no protest that day.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And we were out shopping.
yeah.
I was going to the Apple store to buy a gift for my nephew. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Okay,
that was
so
a mistake. You
Yeah.
should have gone to the Xiaomi store.
Yes,
If you went
exactly.
there, you'd
Yeah.
be okay.
I think back to so many things. Like you can watch the CCTV videos, and there's a time like right before I stopped to buy a bottle of water. I'm like, man, why did I buy that bottle of water?
Yeah, you would have been 2 minutes ahead. I know.
But yeah, so we were just kind of walking through Causeway Bay Station. Me and a friend, Indian friend, who we had gotten brunch, and then we were just kind of walking around.
Yeah.
And this kid.
Okay, what time of the day was that?
I think it was about noon.
Yeah, it was afternoon,
Okay.
I remember, yeah.
So you're walking through Causeway Bay, which is usually busy at noon.
We're in the MTR station.
Yeah. Did you go past the turnstiles?
No,
or
no,
not?
no. He was just down the stairs, right? The
We had
entrance.
gone past the turnstiles. So
Wait, you...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So actually
there's-
in the MTR platform, not the public area.
Oh, we were going out then.
Look at me challenging him. Like, oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah, both of us. Yeah. We're
Yeah.
playing like the judge and the other guy.
So
the
we had come from Central, and we were we went out the turnstiles towards exit F, which is like the High Sand Place exit or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a long hallway there.
Right.
So after you go out the turnstiles, so we're like walking down that hallway. It's a crowded day. Tons of people. This kid runs by, maybe 15, 16 years old, whatever. And behind him a little bit is this older guy who's screaming something and running and like shoving people out of the way and stuff like that. I think he's screaming. He was screaming something in Cantonese. I'll tell you what that was in a minute. But I just turned to my friend and I said, "Is he screaming something in Cantonese?" And my friend says, "I don't know. It sounds like maybe he's saying we don't know." But it was something Cantonese. But so then they'd go by us. We say, well, we'll never see those people again.
Yeah.
But then we go up the escalator. And right when we get to the top of the escalator, there's also CCTV videos of all of this. It's on like Twitter and stuff and on YouTube. That's what when I got out of jail, I was just like, fuck these people. So I put all the videos on YouTube. And
Have you ever considered America's Funniest Home Videos?
Oh wait, what is the music? What is the famous song?
I can't. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So you went everywhere. You're like AFV. Sorry, you gotta wait for this one later.
And then you fast forward it. It would be really funny. When it's- that's it.
The Benny Hill one.
Yeah, Benny Hill. That's it.
I mean, it's definitely a joke in some way, but then maybe
Yeah.
not their style.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get to the top. This guy is just like beating up this kid with a stick. Turns out to be a baton.
Yeah.
This other guy's holding the kid from behind by his arms while there's these two old men just beating up a kid, right?
Yeah.
There's this other guy, another foreigner, who turned out to be a British guy, who's kind of yelling at them in English and saying, "Are you popo?" over and over.
Yeah.
They both say no in English. So I'm thinking like maybe they don't understand.
Yeah.
Because, it's this time,
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe these guys are
It's
cops,
English
right?
as well, so yeah.
Yeah. So I asked them in Mandarin. I don't speak Cantonese, but I asked them in Mandarin. Like, 是不是警察? They both turned to me, and you can see them in the video. The video doesn't have sound. The CCTV doesn't. But you can see them both turn and be like, 不是. They both say they're not cops.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, the kid gets away. He runs upstairs. I'm sitting there arguing. One of the guys runs after the kid. And then that's when this video with sound, a cell phone video starts that I think more people have seen than the CCTV. And then you hear again. So like we're sitting there arguing. You can hear me saying to one guy, like he said he's not a cop, and he's saying, they must be cops. They must be cops. It's like they said in two languages they're not a cop. So then the other guy who had run after the kid comes down. He's already got a baton in his hand. He walks up to the other foreigner. He shoves him, and then he says, "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
In
And then the
English.
guy's in English. And then the foreigner says again, "Are you popo?" And again he says no. And then I said, "All right, it's time to stop this." So I reach out and grab the baton. He pulls the baton away. He extends it. He runs at me. He tries to beat me with it. He's an idiot, so he falls over the rail, falls onto the ground. As he's falling, he grabs my shirt, pulls me down on top of him, and then he's hitting me in the legs and the butt with the baton. So I whack him twice in the face, which causes him to bring the baton forward. Immediately, I grab the baton, and then just kind of help him. All I'm trying to do here is get the baton.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Because this is
you know
some
this guy's-
lunatic
Yeah.
who's And by the way, and anybody who doesn't know this story is going to know that the punchline here is this guy who lied about being a cop actually was a cop.
Right. Yeah. I think actually, if someone does not know the story, they can still guess.
You can still figure that out.
From you asking a million times.
He says he's a cop, but I'll get to that interesting story in a minute.
Right.
But here's the thing about it. I'm a lawyer, right? Let's be clear here. If this guy was wearing a uniform and had a sign on his head that said, "I am a police officer,"
right?
If he walks down the stairs and people are talking and he shoves somebody and then tries to beat them with a baton, he's still a criminal.
Yeah,
you can't do that. A cop cannot do that.
Yeah. Not in the context of like a protest or like there is violence already happening and self-defense and stuff like that.
So we have these leaked documents which the court, of course, did not let us use. He said they weren't relevant, which is insane.
Yeah.
But we have these documents, which are internal police documents, where they lay out, the law and the regulations of when a police can use force, and to pull out a baton. So first of all, to use force at all, to shove.
Yeah.
There has to be violence. There's no violence.
Yeah.
There's just people talking and arguing.
Yeah.
And there is CCTV cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
Like that's all proven basically.
There's somebody's cell phone sort of filming it as well. To use the baton, there has to be a serious risk of injury. This is all in the police documents themselves, right? This guy instead just walks up with a baton, shoves somebody who's talking. It was completely illegal by anybody's definition of the word,
including their internal policies,
right? Yeah,
which is what the documents that you have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Except apparently the Hong Kong judiciary.
Yeah. They don't believe it. They're like,
it was. God, we can talk about the case.
Yeah,
but it was absolutely insane. But anyway, so this guy, he says he's a cop. So then the police arrest me. But it's interesting. They wouldn't show us.
Oh, okay. Slow down. Now you're at this point when you're trying to grab the baton. You got it, and then you got off him.
I got off him, and then I tell him to get up. He gets up. We stand there for about 6 or 7 minutes. Somebody else calls the cops. And I'm saying, let's just wait for the cops. I'm saying, why don't?
So until this point, you're just two civilians who had a fight, and you want the cops to be involved because you know he's wrong.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna call the cops on you because you assaulted me. You assaulted this other kid.
Yeah. And now I look back.
And then he's like, I have a direct line door.
He's like, I know they're coming.
Like you're calling them, his phone's ringing. He's like, why? You're like, what?
Yeah. But then I'm holding it, and all of a sudden, as I've got this guy detained, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying we're gonna wait for the cops. He's saying I'm a cop. And I'm just like, no, you're not.
Right.
Freaking liar.
So you think he is trying to get away from it by saying, I'm a cop so you can let him go.
But here's the thing. I sit there and wait and say, well, why don't you show me your ID? And he says, no.
Yeah.
And I say, well, is it the baton? Why don't we both take one hand off and I'll show my ID and you show your ID?
Yeah.
And he says, no. And then I do it. I take one hand off. Here's my ID. Why don't you show me your ID?
Yeah.
Because there's no way in my mind that this guy has a police ID.
Yeah. Right. Where are the other two guys?
The other foreigner is I think he's one of the people calling the cops. The other guy, the other attacker, is standing there as well. I think he might have called the cops as well.
Right. Okay.
But then, and then I say, why don't we put the baton on the ground together, and then we can show our IDs? And he says, no. This guy is absolutely out of control, lunatic, right? So then the police come. He shows them an ID. You can kind of see in the video. It's not a police warrant card, and it's a different color. It has a different design on it.
Yeah.
We don't know what it was, but it wasn't a police warrant card. So this guy did not have a police warrant card with him.
That was probably his fake ID for the bars. He was like, I'm 18.
Yeah.
So then, after, I'm in jail for 2 days, I get bail. Interestingly about bail, this was back when the DOJ still had some, actual professional lawyers in it.
Yeah.
They really, really engineered it to try to just help me out here, right? They said you only have to pay $1,000 bail, and we're going to let you keep your passport.
Nice.
Which is
essentially
wild. It's very clear in hindsight they just wanted me to get out of here.
Yeah.
Which I refused to do.
Right. So we're going to let you keep your passport, wink, wink, just get out.
Yeah. Be smart about it.
Okay, sorry to keep interrupting, but I really want to try to follow the timeline here. So someone called the cops. The cops came. You skipped over the part where you're getting arrested and the whole thing.
Yeah. So I got arrested.
Okay.
And then they take me to this room. Where
at the MTR station.
It's right. And I have a secret video that I took at the MTR station in this room, where eventually they figure it out and they grab my phone. But in the secret video, the cop the alleged cop, he tries to attack me again in the room with the other uniformed police officers there. And they're still just like, oh, no, it's fine. Like, whatever. And they still arrest me and let these guys go. Oh, man, these people are corrupt. I mean, this place it's just a criminal organization. It really is. So they arrest me. They put me in jail for 2 days. They torture me. They put you in this freezing room and take your clothes. Every hour or so, they would pull me out, warm me up, and try to like get me to admit things or whatever. They were obsessed with this other foreigner, the one who had asked
the British guy.
And they were just convinced that I must know this guy, and we were, I don't know, CIA agents waiting around in a
so that this is all a scheme of some sort that you get in a fight. He films. It makes them look bad
because all white people know each other. Right?
Exactly.
I mean, it was just utterly. These people are lunatics.
Well, again, in their defense, I've been in Asia for too long that actually white people are starting to look the same. So I'm not really blaming them here.
But I mean, the whole thing was insane. My lawyer, they wouldn't let me get a lawyer at first, but eventually, I mean, my case was all over the news, so lawyers came. I got some lawyers in there. They were sort of yelling at the cops, trying to get them to get me out of this torture room. Basically, eventually,
what is a torture? Are you alone?
So it's like I'm alone, and there's like a cell. They put, I don't know if they put air conditioning on or what, but it's freezing in there, and they take away your clothes, and you're shivering. I was turning blue and purple and stuff.
Are you actually just completely naked? Or
no, not naked. So I had like a t-shirt and like my shorts, basically.
Yeah. Okay, and was that? Did you get moved somewhere else from the MTR? Obviously,
So it was
were you blindfolded?
It's in Wan Chai police station. I wasn't blindfolded.
Oh, okay, so you knew where you were going.
I was handcuffed.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know at the time where I was, but later I knew that I was in Wan Chai police headquarters. So they do this whole torture thing for like 2 days. They always come try to get me to answer things. I tell them to go fuck themselves. And then, 2 days later, we go to court. I get bail. I get out, and that's when I discover like this thing has been everywhere, right? And it's been all over the news. And I'm like, thank God for that, because if it hadn't been, you talk about white people. I mean, if I had been like a brown person, right? I probably would have just disappeared into this place, and nobody would ever even know about.
You're
my
talking
case.
to two brown guys who are about to disappear because of you.
Somehow I've not gotten arrested for national security charges. They're just going to arrest you guys.
Foreshadowing.
Or if I had been a local, I mean, a lot of these, locals get screwed over on these things all the time during the protests and after, right? And just because of who I was, race and nationality and my job and things like that, I was getting a lot of attention for it, which was really, really a relief. But, I think it's a key point, right? I mean, I'm able to go out, and one of the reasons I feel like I have to speak out so much is because other people don't really have that microphone to be able to do that, as I literally hold a microphone. So kind of the roundabout way of we keep saying this guy was a cop, but so like my lawyers write, about a few days after the arrest in December, and they write the police, and they're just like, where's the evidence this guy's a cop? You've shown us no evidence that this guy is actually a cop.
You also said multiple times on camera that he's not a cop.
Yeah.
Obviously, this was not considered in a court, but what is their reasoning for for dismissing him saying that he's not a cop? Isn't that enough?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that should be enough, right?
No, I'm asking you, what was their did you question them, like the judge or whoever is
Oh, yeah, I mean, this is much later. This is like 2 years later.
Okay.
And, I mean, but this is, I mean, we can get to the trial, but
sure.
I mean, as we're writing, we're just trying to get the evidence, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're just saying, give us the evidence this guy's a cop. You're required to do that. So we say, in the letter, please provide all evidence in police possession that this person is a police officer. They write back and they say, there is no evidence in our possession that he is a police officer other than his statement in his that he made to the police. That's what they write back to me.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And they're okay with that. They're like, so we're taking that. It's like, what?
We'll take his word for it.
I cannot overstate how stupid these police officers are.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry.
I mean, I've never seen anything quite like it. And I think it's deliberate. I think the senior people hire the dumbest people they can find to be these police officers because they know that they can control them. But the guy who wrote us back was just like, no, we don't have any evidence of this. So, of course, my lawyers write back and we just say, so why are you charging him with this? This was in January of 2020.
And you are out on bail.
Yeah, I'm out on bail.
Yeah.
It takes them until June, so 5 months later, to respond.
Oh, do you think they sent him to police academy to actually join?
Then I become a cop, become a cop.
You become a cop quick. It's like with the Rocky music in the background.
In June, and now it's coming from the DOJ. It's not coming from the police. And they write back and they say, here is a document that shows that last summer, this man's police retirement was extended by a year.
So they found like a little loophole.
So this guy in summer 2019 was supposed to retire because it's a mandatory 55 years old retirement age, or 50, 55. And then they had this document that was dated in summer 2019 that said, "Oh, we're extending it for another year."
Conveniently,
yeah, which is obviously bullshit because they wrote and they said, so this guy basically. What was happening here was this guy was a retired police officer who had not returned his baton. He had an illegal weapon.
Yeah.
And he was beating people up in an MTR station.
Yeah.
What?
So then they created this fake document some that was dated much, much earlier that extended his retirement. He didn't have a warrant card. They refused all along to give us the warrant card. So then a year after that, we're like, we want the warrant card. We went to court to get the warrant card.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, we'll turn over the warrant card. The DOJ basically told them, do it. So they come in with this, we go to the police station. They come in with this plastic thing. And it's like, okay, this is the warrant card. It's like brand new. I mean, not a single scratch on it or anything. So then we ask the cop and we say, so this is the warrant card. This is not a new one. This is the warrant card he had on that day in his wallet. So it would have been scuffed up or whatever.
Yeah.
And the cop is like, yes, it is. And then I said, do you want to check with the cop? So he texts that fake cop. And he's like, yeah, it's the same one from that day. And then I say, sorry. He says, it's a new one. He says, yeah, it's a new one. And then we say, so we don't want the new one. We want the old one.
That day, yeah.
Right. So then he leaves the room. The cop leaves the room. And then a couple minutes later, he comes back and he says, oh, yeah, this is the same one from that day. I mean, these guys are just...
all over the place.
Yeah. So, look, I have no problem with people being stupid. I mean, if you're a good person, you can be stupid all the time. The problem with these people is they're stupid and they have zero ethics whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they'll just lie. They will torture. They will do whatever it takes. And they're not even doing it in sort of a way that's like ideological or with animosity. They just have zero moral fiber whatsoever. So they just lie because it's easier for them to lie. It's easier for them to protect this guy. I mean, and again, and some of you are probably thinking, and I completely agree, Hong Kong is not the only place where cops are a bunch of bastards.
Of course.
And
you're talking to someone who comes from Egypt.
Right.
I have that. I joke about it on my act about how even the protests we were talking about earlier, even the protests are basically a joke in comparison to whatever we have back home.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the same thing when you're talking about the cops. I'm like, yeah, this is how they should behave because this is just like what cops are back in my country.
And it's the same in the U.S. I mean,
of course,
cops will band together and they'll lie, cheat, and steal to protect any cop from any consequences ever. I think what the difference is in a country that's functioning, and Egypt would not be a country that's functioning in the way that it should.
Thank you so
much. But in a lot of European countries, sometimes in the U.S., if you have the right color skin and the right amount of money, and hopefully more these days now that's getting more attention, you have separation of powers where the police do some crazy shit, the DOJ and then the political elements should step in from a civilian standpoint and say, no, we're not going to charge people with things they didn't do just to protect the police. Or a police officer did something wrong, we're going to charge that police officer. There should be civilian oversight of the police. And that's what Hong Kong and a lot of these authoritarian governments are completely lacking. The police run this city. The police are telling the DOJ what to do, and that's not the way that this is supposed to work.
There should be complete separation.
Right. So this is all to kind of go that, you'd think I would be really angry at the police. I'm not really. The police are the police. They're just a bunch of, immoral idiots like they are everywhere. The people that make me rage are the people in the Department of Justice and in the magistracy and in the judiciary. These are my colleagues. I'm a lawyer. Like, I take my oath seriously as a lawyer. That's why I do all this stuff, right? These are people who have abandoned their duty to the law, to the basic law, to people's constitutional rights in favor of simply just taking orders from a military regime. That infuriates me more than anything. And so, you've seen my case over and over. The DOJ, court lawyers, the judges and the magistrate kind of just helping the police to make up facts and cover up police crimes. And that's just such an abandonment. And it makes, people hate lawyers, and it's because of people like this. And that just, you affect
See,
all
there's
of us.
two things that bother me about this. Number one is that the whole situation is so absurd that even if a day comes that someone wants to write a book, people are like, that's terrible storytelling.
Yeah.
They're like, no, man, that was actually what happened. Like, no, they can't be that dumb.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they actually were. You don't understand. Yeah, you have that. And I think there's a parallel to, obviously, with comedy as well, where you have comedians working hard at, like you said, you take your oath very seriously. Comedians try to really work hard at the craft. And you got other guys who are just doing hacky stuff.
Right.
I mean, they're getting away with it, but you're like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Right? And that I totally understand what you mean when that infuriates you, because that's a different level. That's like more like the moral level where you're thinking like, I know you can do it, but that's not the point. Like the reason you're doing this is because you want to do something, not that. Right? So you have that. I think, but then how much of that have you had, like, let's say psychological issues where after that you just kind of lost hope or faith in like the profession in general, or just your colleagues, or did there a lot of like personal friendships breaking and stuff like that?
I didn't really have any friends at the DOJ anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely lost faith in rule of law in Hong Kong. I think I held some, naive faith in it. And I still, up until the day I was convicted, I held some naive faith that there was no way that a magistrate, even a pro-Beijing magistrate, could possibly convict on this case. And then he did. And so there's sort of been a progressive series of events that have made it very clear to me that there is just no rule of law in this city whatsoever. It's a political regime that's making decisions based on politics and just sort of indifferent to
so if you get in their way of what they're trying to
says.
achieve, they're like, you're illegal now. Like, how? It's like, well, because I said so.
And I think it's been interesting to watch over the last couple of years how, they went to a lot of effort at the beginning to sort of make it seem like they were following the law. And you had to kind of dig around and realize that they weren't.
Yeah.
Whereas now they don't really even try.
No. You're right about that.
Yeah.
The most they do is just kind of release a statement that's like, we are abiding by rule of law, and that's all they say anymore.
And they
But then
condemn you for saying that they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're just
a simple example from my very simple life is like when we go out on like Peel Street, as an example. Like when they come in and they clear the street, they're saying group gatherings more than 4 people is not allowed. And people gather in groups of 4, while by law you can drink, like you can put your mask down where you drink. And then people gather 1.5 meters and then they clear the street anyway.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, by your rules, that's
we're following
legal.
it.
Yeah. But that's the same to your point. It's like, okay, no, we don't care. This is what we want right now. And you're illegal. Like you're basically breaking the law if you talk back at them or question their authority. It's like, okay, but you're telling me to do something. I'm doing it. But you want me to do more.
Yeah.
Not even. There's no law.
And what are you going to
saying.
do? Challenge it in courts? They own the courts, and they know it, right?
And you'd be a fool to go into their kind of home court
Exactly.
and say they're wrong,
Yeah.
and they're like all their fans and everybody's in the court. And they're like, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You would be a fool to do that.
Exactly.
But then, okay, so coming to this though, like the whole situation happened. I mean, it's been what, like
more than 2 years.
More than
now,
2 years now,
Yeah.
right? And I'm sure in that sense, first of all, putting aside like the whole change of mindset with the rule of law and everything in Hong Kong, but your life in general. I mean, like, do you walk around town? Do people like recognize you? Do you get a lot of that kind of stuff? Or
I recognized him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, usually, I mean, the mask thing is probably a good, nice because it means fewer people recognize me on the street. When people do recognize me, it's usually when I'm walking my dog because I don't know why, but like I'm just, as much as I've been like in the public spotlight, I'm very uncomfortable with the public spotlight. I'm an introvert. Like I like to sit at home and just, play a video game or watch TV or things like that. But my dog, so it's sort of like my comfort animal, basically. Like whenever I have to do photo shoots, they're so weird too. Like, and the photographers are lovely, but they're like, you were doing an article, now we need to follow you around the city for a day. I'm like,
and it's always these candid photos.
Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, I'm bringing my dog with me though. And I'm that's like, all right. And so most of these articles have me and my dog together. So when people recognize me on the street, it's usually they recognize my dog and then they'll stop.
It's just a matter of time with the cops. Like, is he CIA? Is your dog CIA?
Yeah. And then sometimes people recognize me at like stores or coffee shops or something. They'll give me a free coffee. I'm like, yes, if anybody wants to give me a free coffee, that's great. But
yeah, you just put your mask down everywhere you go.
Every time when they're like $34, you're like, mask down.
Yeah.
Anything? No?
You just
Okay.
like go, you give like you know how at Starbucks they ask you for your name, you just give them your full name.
Sure. you just load up the news article. That's
Exactly.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, all right, you get a free coffee, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of weird sometimes, but I have been really overwhelmed by the support from Hong Kongers. And just, when I was in prison, I would get just tons of letters every day from random people and things like that. It was just so supportive and so encouraging. I joined Twitter after I got out so that I could start kind of pushing some of this information out there. And then, within a few days, like thousands of people are like following my Twitter. And, there's a group of a couple hundred of them. Whenever I post anything, it doesn't matter if I'm like, the sun is out.
Yeah.
They like retweet it within 5 seconds.
Sam said the sun is out.
Oh man, is that? Yeah, exactly. That means he's still outdoors. It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
And I think to a lot of people that I think what happened to me, it sort of represents sort of just how, I've said this in some articles before, but there's lawlessness, but I think everybody from when they're a little kid, they're taught to help people in trouble, right?
Yeah.
And this is to people, it's somebody who's been sent to prison for helping somebody in trouble and trying to be a good citizen. And I think that really like kind of represents to people just sort of the moral deterioration of Hong Kong in addition to the legal deterioration. And so I think that hit people in some ways. And then I think for a lot of people too, it's just, they know that I'm have a certain privileges and an ability to get word out that a lot of locals don't have. And so it's a chance, once people realize that I'm willing to speak and more than willing to speak, then I think it was something where people said, well, this guy can help us to get the word out and keep attention from the West.
I think because that's usually the rare occasion. See, first of all, you're not obliged to do what you're doing. You're not obliged to voice the issues and let no people know. But the fact that it's something that you're related to, or at least you personally have a feeling towards, and you're like, I want to do something good with this if I have the ability to do it. And I definitely can tell you, because in Hong Kong, we definitely can appreciate someone who's going out of their so-called comfort or necessity zone and doing something. And it's like, really? You're going to help all of us because for something that's not really going to benefit you as much as it's going to benefit us, in other words. But then during this whole course, though, I'm sure in reverse, if right now with your status, if you suddenly said, hey, man, this is happening to me, I'm having this trouble, I'm sure that you had a lot of people coming towards your support as well. Because I'll give you an example, like Jeffrey Andrews, right? So he was running for LegCo before, and he had only like a couple of days to get, I don't know how many signatures done. Like I think 5,000 signatures to say he had eligibility to run.
Right.
Within 24 hours, people were like, where are you there? And you had to go to Shim Sachoy to sign it and everything. Like, we're
and people
there.
did it anyway.
On a week, they're like, I'm there. I was like, wow. And I think that's the issue with Hong Kong is that we have this really weird mentality of like, I don't really want to help you if I don't need to. But if I really want to, I will. I'm going out of my way to make it a point that I'm coming right. in.
And I mean, Jeffrey Andrews is a great example of that because he got arrested as part of the sweep, but he never got charged. And I think that was because, if you looked at sort of the stories from the time about the arrest, a lot of them mentioned specifically Jeffrey Andrews and be like, this is a guy who's just, he's just a good guy, helps prisoners and helps everybody. Yeah. And the police ultimately, I think if there's articles and that attention on him and the fact that he'd had so many supporters, if he hadn't, I think he would have been charged like everybody else.
I mean, I spoke to him like after he was basically he got back out, and then I was talking to him and I said I have a weird feeling that they let you off in a way, partly because of number one, your image, your ethnicity and everything, because they knew like if they get him in trouble, you got a whole bunch of people in Hong Kong who's like, wait a second, that guy represents us. We're going to come down and do something. And secondly, international news will definitely identify with that way more than with someone who's, let's say, Chinese. Yeah. Right? So they probably did that and like, okay, you know what, he's fine. I'm like, so you're doing this from I'd have less problems issue.
Yeah, I think it was only like 5 people that they didn't ultimately charge with NSL, and 2 of them were the only 2 non-Chinese people.
Yeah, exactly.
The one of them was an American, and then one of them was Jeffrey.
Yeah.
I think that's also telling about how political these things are to them, right? Like it's not about the law when they're charging somebody like Auntie Claudia Mo, charging her with trying to overthrow the government or whatever she's charged with, and you're just like, okay, that's that's bullshit.
Yeah. It's like,
why didn't you then charge Jeffrey Andrews and the white American guy?
Exactly.
With it,
like
right?
not to throw them under the bus, but that's exactly what we were talking now. It's like it's weird that technically, if that person's in trouble, you are on the same parallel universe, and same parallel to that person.
Yeah.
And you're okay. That doesn't really make sense. But as you said, and I'm very sure as well, it's kind of an arbitrary decision of like, this is going to cause us a lot of problem. You go away. You're going to be fine. You come with us, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
And I think from a legal standpoint, we're like, to be clear to anybody, I'm sure people are aware of these, the 47 that are, most of them still in prison without trial, arrested in January last year. Some of these
exactly a year now.
Yeah, some of these NSL guys, right? Like, it's outrageous what's happening to them. But, for example, the guy who drove a motorcycle may or may not have deliberately driven into police. He shouldn't be charged with an NSL violation.
It's a criminal charge.
There is some charge there.
Yeah.
Right? These 47, these are politicians. There is just zero argument, that they committed any crime. And actually under the law, even under the NSL.
Let's go with a scenario here where you're saying that, and then people who record you say that get charged under NSL, and then people who share the article about the people who got recorded you, like how many people can you drag down under the NSL before it's like, all right, guys, is it like the guy in another country who's reading the news is now under charge?
Yeah, it's like where do you stop? And
exactly.
The answer to that is they stop when they politically decide that they decide who they want to charge,
right?
And they make it fit that. They don't decide somebody committed a crime and then who committed that crime.
Like I can imagine they're gonna have like an anthem song for the NSL. Like Shaggy's "It Wasn't Me." Yeah, like everything. It wasn't me. It was like, it's NSL. It's NSL. Whatever it takes.
Being a little conscious of the time here because I do want to give our listeners the entire story because we still haven't even gotten to the trial. So, so we're talking. I'm going back to the story. So you're at the point where the guy shows the ID and you're like, this is not even the same ID and the whole thing. So what happens next?
Well, I couldn't see it. He wouldn't let me see it in person there, right? So that was, then I was in jail for 2 days and then I was released out.
Right.
But then we had to wait a long time.
So we're in June now, where the whole thing with the ID happened and they said, here's his warrant and the whole thing.
Yeah, so then we had trial scheduled, but then it got canceled for COVID and all these things. Ultimately, the trial wasn't until the next June, so June 2021.
And for this year, you're not on your job anymore.
I'm not in my job.
So what are you doing for a whole year?
So the main thing I'm doing now, which I started a couple months ago, is writing. So I'm doing, I started a Substack, samuelbickett.substack.com. There's my plug. And it's just writing about legal issues in Hong Kong in English. And then I now got a guy, a supporter, who's just volunteering to translate some of them into Chinese too. And some of them get into sort of technical legal issues. But I think what I really realized is that I can't be useful as sort of like a, general political activist. I'm not from here, like things like that. But where I can be useful is that nobody's actually taking some of these insane court decisions and then going through and explaining how these people are a bunch of lying fucks, right? A couple of the biggest ones, one of the biggest ones I've had is Chow Hong Tung. Or no, one of the first ones I got was Jimmy Lai, who was convicted of inciting people to join the June 4th vigil. And the news reports go out there, and everybody can look at that and be like, "That's ridiculous." It's just, but the story that people were getting from that is, he's just inciting people to join a peaceful assembly. There's nothing wrong with that. So I was like, "That's not what happened from a legal standpoint," and so I want to write about this. What happens if you go back and actually read the court decision? Is he didn't actually incite anybody. He showed up to a press conference and he stood there, and didn't say a word. Didn't gesture anything. He lit a candle legally. Nobody said that this press conference was illegal. And so this magistrate bent over backwards to say, well, he incited people. Why did he incite people? Because he's Jimmy Lai and he showed up in public.
Wow.
So this was this magistrate's argument, or it wasn't. I think it was actually a judge. It was a judge, so the judge was saying, well, he didn't say anything, but because he is so famous as a member of the democracy movement, the fact that he showed up would have incited people to go to this,
which is a pretty big leap.
It's not. It's an absolutely. it's a illegal leap.
Right.
I mean, this is a judge who was imprisoning somebody, and what she must know. I mean, this is a well-trained lawyer. She's not stupid. Amanda Woodcock.
Yeah.
She's just making shit up. I mean, I think what's really telling about the decision too, this is a lawyer. Again, legal decisions, if you've ever read a legal decision, they start by saying, this is what the law is. Here is a case that cites the law. Here is a statute that says what the law is. Nowhere in this decision did she cite a single case about what actually constitutes incitement. That's not a court decision. That's not a legal decision. That's a person randomly ranting about things.
I say from my judgment that why you get legal.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense at all. And it's and think about, and so I wrote about this, and you think about the implication of that. What this judge was saying, with apparently no hint, no awareness of the irony and of the sort of hypocrisy of it, was saying that this person was guilty of a crime simply for being who they are. I mean, that's really extreme.
Wow. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So I started, that's actually the one that kind of was the impetus and got me starting the Substack. Now I write it a couple a week, or depending on, whatever comes up. And that keeps me pretty busy. If anybody wants to sign up for it, it's free. You just go and you subscribe for free.
Yeah, we'll put the link up in the episode description.
I have a feeling like a marketing team is going to use what you just talked about, how Jimmy can incite people to do things just by existing.
Yeah.
A lot of let's say influencers are going to be like, okay, so if he has 17 million followers and he incited this many people, if I have 1,700, I can incite 40 people to buy your product.
Right.
So
great.
Pay me this amount and I'll put a post on my IG.
So you go to trial in June 2021.
Yeah.
Correct?
Sorry, you're probably noticing, you really want to get this story out. I told you earlier, I'm like an introvert and I'm uncomfortable with the spotlight. And I do this every time I've done an interview. Interviewers just we need to talk about you. And I'm like, no, let's talk about Jimmy Lai.
Right, I know what you're doing, but I also know what I am doing. And our listeners are gonna not like me if we just cut now because it's 45 minutes or whatever. I'm like, no, we're gonna go long and you're gonna give the story no matter how long we go.
No, so
in fact, you're gonna hate it. I'm gonna cut all the Jimmy Lai parts. So it's only
cut
gonna
it all
be
out and get back to me.
So every time you talk and now you're in June 2021.
So before that, I was still staying pretty quiet because I was still holding out a little bit of faith that the magistrate was going to do the right thing. I was like, let's stay quiet and respect the process. I get to trial. We do the whole trial. I mean, my lawyer did a good job. Edwin Choi, he's a senior counsel. He put this fake cop on the stand and just tore him to bits. I mean, by the end of so I told you I was going to tell you guys what the cop was yelling in Canton.
Yes.
When he was running after this kid. And what the cop admitted on the stand was that he was yelling sexual assault, Failey.
Oh, Failey,
Failey. And so then, so you're yelling this kid's committed sexual assault. So my lawyer says, so did you see this kid commit sexual assault? And the cop says, no. And he says, so what did you see him do? And he's like, well, I saw him not pay for his ticket for the MTR. And he says, so why did you yell Failey?
Yeah.
And he says, oh, because I knew that nobody would stop the kid if he had just jumped over an MTR, and I wanted somebody to stop him and beat him up.
That's on stand, under
this is
oath.
on the stand, under oath. This is what he said. And so we're going out there. I mean, and so by the end of this, the cop is being pulled out for his lies. My lawyer goes through and shows him the video and says, so you said you're not a cop? He's like, yeah, I said I'm not a cop. And we said, why do you say you're not a cop? He says, well, because popo is an insulting term. And my lawyer says, but you understood what he was asking you. Yeah, but I didn't want to say yes. Right? I mean, all these things. And so by the end, the cop just has his head down, looking at his toes, kind of mumbling answers because he knows he's just been eviscerated on the stand.
And you're obviously sitting there, you're like, oh, this is over.
This is good.
Yeah, I'm walking out right now having a drink tonight, basically.
I mean, I was honestly shocked after that the magistrate didn't just end the trial. They have the power to do that.
Exactly.
This is over.
This is crazy.
Nonsense.
And not only do you not end the trial, he then, we finished the trial. And usually you finish the trial and then the next day or at latest a couple days later, depending on schedules, you come back and you get the decision. So my lawyers get together with the prosecution. They go to on the last day of trial. They say to the magistrate, well, we'd like to, we're available tomorrow. We're available on Monday, whatever. The magistrate says, "Oh no, I need a little bit more time than that because there's a lot to look at." And they say, well, "How much time do you need?" He says, "How about 2 months later?"
What?
And you're free all of this time, right?
Yeah, but this is extraordinarily unusual.
Right.
Yeah.
A magistrate does not need 2 months
For it's not a murder case. Yeah.
Even in a murder case, they don't need 2 months.
Right.
So that was the first really red flag here.
Right.
The magistracy, the judges, the court system is independent here. They cannot go get instruction from someone else about what they're supposed to do. But that is the only explanation for a 2 month delay here.
But this is also you speculating. This is not.
This is me speculating.
Right. Yeah. Just to make it very clear.
But I'm happy to speculate on that.
Right.
One.
Yeah.
If he wants to sue me for defamation, I'm happy to take that one in there. Right.
Right.
This guy needed 2 months to issue a decision in a low-level magistrate case. He was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing. So he comes back, and I'm still kind of holding out hope. I'm like, even if this guy wants to do it, like this case, there's videos of this guy lying and then beating people up, right? I mean, there's no way he can convict me.
Yeah.
Or we were like, the biggest thing we were worried about was that he was going to try to convict me of common assault and say, oh, well, he didn't know he was a police officer. The guy lied about it, but he still assaulted someone, which I didn't because it was completely lawful trying to grab the baton.
Yeah.
But we were worried about that, which would have been like a fine. It's like common assault, here's a $2,000 fine, and move on with your life, right? That's what we were concerned about. I stand up there, and then this guy convicts me. He reads out his decision, and he just goes through and he completely accepts everything that the police officer said, everything that the DOJ said. I mean, so you read this decision and it's wild. And he said, well, the police officer did lie and say that, he said the police officer didn't lie. It was not a lie to say that the kid committed sexual assault. It wasn't a lie because he was doing it to try to get people to intervene, and people wouldn't have intervened. I mean, he literally just said
he followed the cops'
He just
logic,
said,
basically.
Right?
Yeah.
And then he goes through and he says, well, yes, he did say that he wasn't a police officer, but the way that it was asked was very insulting. And you're just like, this guy is...
Why did they dismiss you asking him in Mandarin?
Because, I mean, that's not on the video, right? I mean, the video... So that's, that was my testimony, but, I asked that on the CCTV, and so there's no sound on the CCTV.
Okay. So
it's
it couldn't
before
really,
the sound video started. I mean, he should have accepted that because, you've got one person who's clearly telling the truth and one person who's lying on tape, right?
Right.
But,
it wasn't accepted.
He didn't. But even aside from that, you have a video on sound, with sound of him saying he's not a cop. Right? I mean, that's all you need.
Wow.
And more than that, the guy didn't go up there and say, oh, well, I didn't understand the question. He said, I understand. I just didn't like the way it was asked, right? I mean, it's just... So this guy just took everything as the police and the... I mean, it was stunning. He convicts me. He then sends me immediately to prison without sentence. All of this is...
Just explain to the layman here. So you get the conviction.
And then he
so
says,
what does he say?
And then he says, he says, sentence will be in 2 weeks. And I want, before sentencing, to have him do a, what do you call it? Like a social worker
service,
comes,
right?
and social worker
Yeah.
comes and does this thing. And so my lawyer says, okay, well, he can do that at home. And he's like, no, I want him to do it from jail. So he sends me to jail immediately. I mean, and I'm in shock. I mean, everybody's in shock.
Yeah.
As much as we knew that the system was problematic, I mean, this was such a blatant criminal act by this magistrate, Arthur Lamb Hayway. I mean, I have no problem with saying his name or anything like that, or accusing him of being unlawful here.
Yeah.
And he sends me to jail. He's just read out to the court. I mean, there's gasps in the court as he's saying over and over things that are just blatantly wrong and lying. I mean, outright lying about what's in the videos.
Yeah.
I mean, he says in there at some point, well, the police officer didn't assault anyone. There is video and sound of him walking up to the foreigner and shoving the foreigner. Even if the guy had accepted that the kid deserved to get beat up, he's walking up to somebody and shoving him and raising a baton to his face. I mean, he just made it up.
Yeah.
He sends me to jail. From there, I have two weeks in jail, come back. He does sentencing. He says, well, all of the cases from the DOJ, from my side, from my lawyers, say that the starting point for sentencing on this is 2 months to 3 months. He says, well, I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to put the starting point at 4 months.
Oh, wow.
And then he says, and I'm going to add another 2 weeks to it. Why am I going to add another 2 weeks to it? Because even though it wasn't at a protest, there were people around the defendant who were yelling mean things at the police officer. Not me.
Right.
Other people around.
Yeah.
Right? So like he adds more time for that. I mean, the whole thing was just surreally insane.
Yeah.
So then he sentenced me to 4.5 months. So then I go to prison. And what these guys do is they choose these sentence lengths. These, there are still some magistrates that are trying to do their jobs, but the ones who are criminals, like Magistrate Lamb, they specifically choose this to reduce the risk of people appealing. Because if you get a 4.5 month sentence, you're going to serve 3 months after reductions. It's too expensive and too much trouble to most people to appeal that and draw more attention to it. So most people don't appeal it. Of course, I knew that, and I'm really stubborn, and I was like, fuck this guy, I'm going to appeal this thing. And so I appealed it. I got bail while on appeal, so that was about 2 months later. So I spent 2 months in prison. I got bail, and now I've just been waiting forever. We had another hearing with the appellate judge who said a lot of the same completely inappropriate things, right? So in the oral argument, she said, well, if I was in that situation, I would have lied about the kid jumping over a turnstile. I would have said sexual assault because nobody, her language, she says, nobody cares about jumping over a turnstile. And I wish my lawyer had said this and he didn't, but I wanted to yell and be like, yeah lady, that's the damn point. This guy beat the shit out of a kid with a baton over something that nobody cares about.
Okay. Was this ever raised? It's such a dumb thing. Was this ever raised? Like, is it legal for even a retired cop to chase a kid who is jumping over? Like, is that part
it
within
is not.
his...
And so that's... And you're very insightful. So there's... in Hong Kong law, there's arrestable offenses and non-arrestable offenses.
Yeah.
Not paying for an MTR ticket is a non-arrestable offense.
Right.
This cop admitted on the stand that he saw the kid jump over a turnstile. He then went up to the kid and he immediately grabbed the kid and tried to detain him. That's an illegal arrest. You cannot arrest somebody for that.
Yeah.
And so he admitted to another crime there, right? So
was he never charged with anything?
No, he was never charged with anything. He was never investigated. So we actually wrote. So the head of public prosecutions, William Tam, he was acting then. So he was the second most senior person in the Department of Justice under Teresa Chung. We wrote him a letter and we said, my lawyer said, oh, well, my client complained to the police about several crimes committed by this man, Yu Shu Sung. And we would like an update on the status of that investigation. And then William Tam, so this senior guy, wrote back and he said, I have checked with the police and no investigation was conducted into these complaints. Nonetheless, we are still continuing with the charges against your client. I mean, this is, these people are freaking nuts.
Right.
And so, yes, you're right. There was another crime committed by this guy that he admitted to openly, and no consequences whatsoever. And I say that, but I say none yet, because even after all this, I'm going to lose at the appellate level. That was clear, but I still have a chance at the Court of Final Appeal, and I will never stop, until there are absolutely no avenues, none whatsoever, for me to get justice against these people.
Wow.
Well,
man.
I mean, I'm sorry. This is gonna be unusual for us and for the listeners, but I also want to get the jail experience at least a little bit, because you don't look like someone who has been to jail a million times. This is clearly your first time, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't look like a repeat offender of some sort, especially in your line of work.
Yeah, you don't have the chops on the cards, collect 10 and get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you first went to jail, so the 2 weeks before the verdict, right? The 2 weeks before the sentence, rather.
Yeah.
So that was your first time ever as an inmate or as a convict,
well, I had
right?
2 days in jail when they arrested me, but that was in a police jail.
Yeah.
And that was, that was actually really brutal because they don't give you books or anything and they torture you, right? But but then in the actual prison, that was my first time in prison.
Okay, so just walk us through this. Like, what happens? Like, who did you meet? What was your routine like?
Let's hit this on the Patreon. I'm going to subscribe to this for sure.
Dude, this entire episode is probably going to be on the Patreon. We're going to have to make some decisions later.
Okay,
no, but I do actually want to get him.
There's going to be a lot of like beep, beep.
Yeah. So I think what we will do, and our listeners, I hope you guys appreciate this, is that we're gonna do one go, and we might cut a part and put it on the Patreon and see whatever. But I do want him to get the whole story out. And finally, how do people find you online?
Twitter, Samuel Bickett, all one word, Bickett. My blog or my newsletter is Samuel Bickett, all one word, .substack, substack.com. You can subscribe for free on there, and then you get it all. And you can give me donations if you want to help me pay for my appeals and things like that, but that's completely not necessary. I'm really not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I have a big mouth and can't shut up, and so I started a blog.
Oh, we're leaving you on a cliffhanger, everyone. That's right, the rest of this episode is on the Patreon edition of Ho Ho Hong Kong, where Sam talks about his prison experience and a lot of other wild adventures he's been going through. So if you're always curious about what the Patreon edition is like, this is the time I encourage you. Check it out, see what you would miss and what you can enjoy way more. So, hey, enjoy the rest of the show on the Patreon edition. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.